The training document probably, I hope, makes it quite clear what this is about, and that is that you should focus on teaching principles and doctrines and be very slow to teach the application of these doctrines and principles. Now, there are two reasons for this. One is that when we teach a doctrine or a principle, it has an impact on different people in different ways, depending on who they are, their background and circumstances, and where they are in their life at this particular time. When you're very prescriptive and point out one application, you're shutting down all other thinking. So it may not even occur to the person that what you're saying applies to them directly because you use an example that doesn't even apply to them anyway. Of course, the other difficulty is that what we're doing is often is expressing our own personal opinions. So let's take the Sabbath day. Should we watch TV on the Sabbath day or not? Is it okay to shop on the Sunday or not? You and I have no right to tell people what to do in this regard. Let me give you a practical example. My wife and I were doing a youth workshop with a stake a few years ago, and we were asked to do one on the Sabbath day. And at the very beginning, we asked the question. We said, "Is it okay to shop on a Sunday?" And we asked put up their hands, and there was quite a large group of youth, and almost all the hands stayed down. We said then, so you all agreed then you should not shop on a Sunday, is that correct? And nearly all the hands went up. Then we gave them a scenario. And this is the actual scenario. This actually happened now. This is the scenario I gave them. I said, supposing my bishop were to telephone me next Sunday afternoon and say, "Brother Brophy, could you do me a favor? I'm in a bit of a hole." And I go, "Well, of course, if I can help." And he mentions an old lady, an elderly lady in our ward who needs medication. It has to be taken every single day. But unfortunately, the person who picked it up on Saturday got the wrong medication for whatever reason. Obviously, I'm just making this up. And would you mind going down and picking up the prescription, the correct one, from the pharmacy this afternoon? You will need to pay for it, but I'll sort it out later with the ward. And let's look after this lady and make sure she's okay. Now, we said to the youth, "What would you do?" And we broke them into groups and let them discuss this for themselves. Then afterwards, before we got into a discussion, I asked people to put up their hands. Is it okay to shop on a Sunday in that particular case? And every hand went up. Now, I wasn't trying to manipulate the students, but what we taught that day was that we don't have the right to tell you, the student, and your family how to live the Sabbath day. We all live them in different ways depending on our circumstances. And I'm using that as a simple example. We need to be very, very careful about how we teach applications. For example, is it okay to drink Coke or whatever it might be? Now, you and I have the right in our own homes to have, we're the adults, we have the right to have rules and regulations and so on. And we bring up our children if we have children in certain ways and so on. And that's absolutely fine. But there's a big difference between how I apply the gospel in my home, such as the law of tithing, for example, and what I teach in a class. So basically, get into the habit and start this week. Watch the way and I do this with myself. I watch what I teach in relation to application. Over the years, I've got much better at it. I tend to just teach doctrine and principles, and I'm very slow to give practical applications. Pay more attention to that. And remember, you are representing the church. You're not representing yourself. This applies to me as well. So we should be representing the church. And how we do that is by teaching doctrines and principles and being very, very slow to apply applications in any way in our lessons.